Hi, my name's Carrie, and when I was 5 years old, my mom passed away. For years, it was just me and my dad. We would go on adventures every weekend together, hiking in the nearby mountains, camping in the forest, reading books together in our backyard. We were like best friends. But then, one day, everything changed. My dad met Maggie. Pretty soon after, Maggie and her daughter Ness moved in and we became one big happy family. Not. I mean, okay, when Dad asked me how I felt about it all, I just smiled and said, I'm happy if you're happy. I don't normally tell lies, but he really did look so happy, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. Even when he asked her to marry him, I baked a cake to celebrate and tried my hardest to be okay with it. It wasn't so bad when they first moved in. Dad is a bit messy, so it was nice to have some other females around the house to help out a bit. And Maggie is super organized, so she really took control and did the house up. It looked great. But then, it started to get a bit much. Ness complained that my room was bigger than hers, so Dad agreed to break my wall down, making my room smaller and hers bigger. I tried to tell him that it wasn't fair. It was my house first. But Dad just said we need to keep everyone happy. Dad works at the university, and sometimes he has to work late. I don't know when it started, but one day, Maggie just began treating me differently. On the nights Dad was at work, she'd say it was my turn to cook, and she always made me help Ness with her homework, saying that I was lucky to be so smart and I should share my smartness with my sister. I started to dread nights alone with them, as they had really started to gang up on me. One night, I was in the bath and I heard them laughing nearby. I quickly dried off and tiptoed out into the hall. I could see them through the crack in the door of my dad's study. They were looking at old photos of my mom and saying she was ugly, and what had my dad been thinking when he married someone like that? Ness kept saying how much more beautiful Maggie was than my mom. I couldn't bear hearing this. I then heard Maggie saying that she took $400 from my dad to buy a new handbag, but she didn't even tell him. I was getting more annoyed. My dad wasn't doing that well financially, and we don't usually buy expensive clothes or bags. The next thing I heard was glass smashing. I ran into the study, almost dropping my towel on the way. When they saw me, they quickly jumped up and said they'd heard a crash and came running in. On the floor was the framed photos of my mom and dad on their wedding day, and one of us as a family of 3. The glass was smashed and the photos were slightly creased. They were lying to me. They had knocked them off the shelf. I looked at them with tears in my eyes and I ran to my room. As soon as my dad came home, I told him everything they'd said and done. And Dad didn't believe me at all and said that accidents happen and that Maggie would never be so cruel as to say something like that about my mom. He kept on saying how Maggie loves me and thinks the world of me. But the next few weeks just got worse. They started teasing me about my skin. I'd recently gotten a few pimples and I felt so self-conscious about them. Nell even said that I'm dirty and ugly and that's why I don't even have a date for the school dance. That day happened to be my dad's birthday. So, while I was cooking his favorite meal, Maggie started shouting at me to clean up her toenails that she had just cut. She then told me to hurry it up and help Nell with her math homework. I said I was busy, and couldn't Nell do it by herself? She started screaming at me so much that she actually threw her cup of boiling hot tea at me. I crouched onto the floor and thankfully it missed me by an inch. I was still shocked when she started yelling at me louder and louder, saying that she doesn't know why I'm in her life and that the family was complete without me. My dad refuses to believe me and says I need to try harder for our family. What do I do? What would you do if you were me?